The House will come to order. The Pledge of Allegiance this morning will be led by Megan Haith, Sydney Haith, Will Honeyfield, and Kate Honeyfield from West Middle School in Denver.
Please join us for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kohler, please take the roll.
Representatives Becker, Buck, Buckner, Conti, Corum, Court, Del Grosso, Dorr, Duran, Everett, Exum, Fields, Fisher, Foote, Garcia, Gardner, Giroux, Chenal, Hamner, Holbert, Hollinghorst, Humphrey, Joshi, Kagan, Krafttharp, Labuda, Landgraf, Lawrence, Lebsock, Representative Lebsock,
I heard that there was something different.
so did I.
Seeing what they came up with.
Absent. Lee, May, McCann, McLaughlin, McNulty,
Is running a little.
excused. Melton, Representative Melton,
I was told I wasn't going to like it, but I haven't seen it. But it hasn't been entirely on my card.
Melton. Absent. Mitch Bush. Moreno. Murray. Navarro. Nordberg. Pabon. Peniston. Pedersen. Primavera. Priola. Representative Melton is present. Rankin. Rosenthal. Ryden. Sane. Salazar. Schaefer. Scott. Singer. Yeah, he called. Excused. Sonnenberg. Representative Sonnenberg. Absent. Stevens. Stevens Calder. Excused. Swam. Zabo.
Also called.
Representative Lebsock is present.
Zabel also called him. Sorry, Zabel also called him.
Excused. Tyler. Vigil. Waller. Williams. Representative Singer is present. Representative Williams. Wilson. Wright. Young. Good morning, sir. Speaker Ferrandino.
Where are we at?
61-3-1. Sonnenberg is the absent. Yeah.
With 63-1, yeah.
What is it, 61?
3-1.
With 61 members present, 3 excused and 1 absent, a quorum is present. Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm gonna chicken out today. I can't reach my brakes on this one. So I know people were waiting for it, but man, I just can't put this one to song. You want me to do it? You want me to do it to song? The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Here we go. You ready? Mr. Speaker, I move that the reading of the Journal of March 18, 2014 be dispensed with and that it be approved as corrected by the chief clerk.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Just because I don't want to hear Representative Salazar sing anymore, the motion is adopted. Announcements and introductions. Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I promise not to sing.
Thank you.
You have a piece of paper on your desk inviting you to a cocktail reception next Monday from 5:30 to 8 at McCormick's Fish House, where you will learn all about designer drugs. Thank you.
Representative Tyler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to introduce some of the best constituents, the best citizens in the state of Colorado. Some of my folks from House District 23, please stand up and say hi, and welcome to the Colorado House of Representatives.
Representative Swam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, listen up. Just a reminder, next Monday, this is a little early, but the Boy Scouts are going to be in the House. They're going to give a report in the old Supreme Court chambers at 9 o'clock on what's going on with the Scouts. There are going to be Scouts here from all over the state, so I would encourage you to make a connection with some of those young people that you might be representing, and I'll remind us again as we get closer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further announcements or introductions? Representative Hamner. And maybe the cat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Education Committee, I just want to call your attention to our calendar today. We have two bills up upon adjournment, House Bill 1292 and House Bill 1298. They're both for action only, since we've already taken testimony, and it doesn't say that on your calendar, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew. Thanks so much.
Representative Giroux.
Me too.
And McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we have a group of students that aren't here yet. They may be here, but if they are, they're invisible. But they're going to be here soon. 15 students from the northern Colorado Greeley area that are a part of Kick Butt, the anti-smoking campaign.
Yes, and they are here to lobby you and talk to you about how important it is that we continue our efforts to reduce or eliminate cigarette smoking here in Colorado. And the timing is very fortuitous because...
Representative Giroux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Speaker, I apologize. Because there's a bill that Representative McCann and I have up, we're not lobbying for it right now, but we do ask that you go kick butt.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further announcements or introductions, we will proceed to our next order of business. Third reading of bills, final passage. Members, please return to your desks. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to Senate Bill 62.
Senate Bill 62 by Senator Guzman, also Representatives Foote and Gardner, concerning reinstatement of the parent-child legal relationship.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 62 on third reading and final passage.
You've heard the motion. Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the passage of Senate Bill 62 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Representatives Lebsack, McNulty, and Priola. Close the machine. With 64 aye votes, 0 no votes, 1 excused, and 0 absent, Senate Bill 62 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to House Bill 1161.
House Bill 1161, Representative Garcia, El Senator Crowder, concerning interstate rail service in Southern Colorado in connection with creating a commission and fund for the purpose of encouraging Amtrak to continue Southwest Chief rail line service at all current Colorado stops, expanding such service to include a stop in Pueblo, studying the potential benefits, expanding such service to include a stop in Walsburg, and making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill 1161 on third reading and final passage.
You've heard the motion. We're having little technical issues. The House will stand in a brief recess. House back in order. See discussion, actually. Now we are having discussion. Representative Swan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I was not able to make any comments yesterday on this bill during seconds, but I do want to say something about it on thirds. I have followed RTD issues over the years, and fast tracks in particular, and that's a train. That's a 19th century technology. Fast tracks, as we all very well know, is hundreds of billions, if not hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars over budget and decades behind schedule, despite all the promises they made to us. This is another train deal that we're talking about here. And I think we're going to wind up, if they do this, and I trust that they won't, there'll be wiser heads will prevail. But I can, trust me, this would go hundreds of millions of dollars over budget and decades behind budget as well. And I know the federal government, you know, they have the printing presses somewhere in the Treasury basement, and they can print money till they're blue in the face and we're all broke. I guess as long as the Chinese are willing to fund our debt. But this, I think, is just another example of something that the state should not be getting involved with. And I understand it's just a study at this point, but I think that we're starting to talk about committing money to it. So I am certainly going to be a strong no, and I would urge members of this body to also vote no as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Representative from Pueblo, Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, members, this is probably one of the most important bills this year for rural Colorado. I know this because I spent a lot of time in my district in Pueblo, but I also spent a lot of time outside of my district in Bent County, in Otero, and other parts of the state where this is really important for traveling, for tourism, and for the economic impact it would have. And as you indicated, Representative Swalm, this is just a study. This talks about the opportunity to continue to expand and preserve the rail line throughout Southwest, and I think it's important that you support this for rural Colorado.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, we spent a lot of time this summer traveling around the state of Colorado, listening to communities talk about their transportation needs, and this was one of the issues that we did discuss when we were down in Lamar. Yes, Lamar. La Junta, which is close to Lamar. It's in the southeastern part of Colorado, along Highway 50.
One of those highways?
One of those places. It stops in Lamar. Anyhow, we were very interested in what they had to say regarding Amtrak's inability to service that particular area. But where I come from is this would be like asking for a study for a cruise ship on the Colorado River. This actually makes absolutely no sense because we're dealing with a federal subsidy on a railroad. And I have no idea how we would ever come to an agreement in this body on how to finance something in the future. This makes no sense for us to be involved in. I feel for the people in La Junta and Lamar and Pueblo, and I think there's going to have to be other ways that they're going to have to deal with transportation, because rail, unless it's high-speed rail, is something that is kind of in the past. And I'm sorry that that's the situation, but that's the reality of the situation, is that there just isn't any good way to take care of this problem. So I would ask that people consider this, just as I said, as a cruise ship on the Colorado River. It just doesn't make sense anymore. Thank you very much.
Representative Tyler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think I was on the same trip as Representative Scott on that one, whatever town we went to. And I was absolutely impressed by the folks in southern Colorado, how every one of them, we were there for roads and bridges, wanted to talk about the Southwest Chief and how important that was for their economy and how people actually used it to get around and how it fueled tourism in that area and enabled people to get to their part of the state. And I think, you know, I've heard a lot from the railroad folks. You know, the rail's already there. It may need a little bit of work. The train's already there. And I think we ought to at least give them a crack at seeing how they can put things together to keep that going, because it does help the economy of rural eastern Colorado, southeast Colorado, perhaps Pueblo, and perhaps keep a good tradition alive. I really urge and I vote on this bill because I think it'll help southeastern Colorado and the people of Pueblo, even if it is a little bit pork for Pueblo. Vote yes.
Seeing no further discussion, the question for the House is the passage of House Bill 1161 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative, close the machine. With 44 aye votes, 20 no votes, 1 excused, and 0 absent, House Bill 1161 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Crowell, please read the title of the House Bill 1180.
House Bill 1180, Representative Becker, Senator Talk Drop, concerning the sunset review of the regulation of outfitters for taking wildlife by the Director of Division of Professions and Occupations in connection with implementing the recommendations contained in the sunset report per the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill 1180 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the passage of House Bill 1180 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Conti, McNulty, and Waller. I said it before you pushed the button. Close the machine. With 44 aye votes, 20 no votes, 1 excused, and 0 absent, House Bill 1180 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1207.
House Bill 1207, Representative Young, Senator Aguilar, concerning the creation of the Household Medication Take-Back Program in connection with making appropriation.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill 1207 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the passage of House Bill 1207 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Duran. Close the machine. With 52 aye votes, 12 no votes, 1 excused, and 0 absent, House Bill 1207 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1221.
House Bill 1221, Representatives Exum and Rankum, Senator Talk Drop, concerning continuation of the regulation of fire suppression contracts by the Division of Fire Prevention and Control in connection with implementing the recommendations of the 2013 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill 1221 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the passage of House Bill 1221 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives McCann and Szabo. Close the machine. With 53 aye votes, 11 no votes, 1 excused, and 0 absent, House Bill 1221 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Cole, please read the title of House Bill 1227.
House Bill 1227, Representative Janal, Senator Nicholson, concerning sunset review of the State Board of Dental Examiners in connection with continuing the board implementing the recommendations contained in the sunset report prepared by the Department of Regulatory Agencies and making appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill 1227 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Swan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise in opposition to this bill. I did hear it in the Health Insurance Committee, and there's some good aspects to it. I like the idea of allowing further cooperation between the dentists and the hygienists. I think that's included in the bill. But what concerns me about the bill, right now, apparently, we're the only state in the union that doesn't have continuing education requirements. It seems to me that we're doing just fine. And my experience with continuing education requirements, first, and I'm almost loath to admit it, but I practiced law for a while, about 10 years, which was at least 5 years too many. But, you know, they had all kinds of continuing education requirements. And one of the things when I got the Colorado Lawyer magazine way back in the day was to look at the back of the magazine where they did all the disciplinary cases. Well, they all had continuing education, including ethics. And despite that, there are all kinds of violations. And now I'm an insurance broker. There are plenty of CE credits for that, or requirements for that. You know, in my opinion, especially when it comes to ethics, you might as well just have people sit down and write out the 10 Commandments over and over again 100 times. I mean, why not? Don't lie, cheat, and steal. It's pretty simple. Now, I understand, and I've had this debate before. I think last time I did it was with Representative McCann and on a different profession. But she said, well, things are complicated. Well, they are. And I think they're complicated in large measure because we've made them complex. And what's interesting on this bill, the testimony, there was a dentist there, and I asked him about the continuing education requirements, and he said, well, I'm not really all that big a fan of the continuing education requirements in this measure. And not only am I concerned about the ethics requirement, because I think they're sort of unneeded, but I'm also skeptical of CE requirements in general because I think they're often not very serious. People can go and get these CE requirements fulfilled very easily and quickly without really, you know, and I guess I'm almost reluctant to say that because I think there's another bill coming that we're going to require people to be chained to their desks in a computer or something and spend a certain amount of time doing computer or continuing education or something. But trust me, in the insurance business, it's pretty easy to find courses where you can get these CE credits taken care of very quickly. And I see there's an architect coming up now probably to refute me. So anyway, that's, you know, again, I think there were some good aspects to this. And then finally, I want to say one other thing about these sunset requirements. Now, these sunset bills, this is an idea that actually originated with Jerry Kopel way back in the day. And his idea was we have all these kind of encrusted bureaucracies that regulate all these professions. And imagine this was back in the late 70s that he ran this bill that adopted the sunset rules. And again, I was actually in law school, and we actually worked on some sort of a project in school about doing the first sunset review of the insurance division or something like that. But the point is that so often the people who show up to testify in favor of these measures, these professions that want to be regulated, are not consumers who are asking for protection. It's the industry, the profession itself that comes down and says, please regulate us. because we want to be insulated from further competition. Now, I have to give DORA some credit. When they do these sunset reviews, they at least give lip service to the idea that they recognize that's a problem, the idea of regulatory capture, that the industry can capture the regulatory agency and then just manipulate it for its own benefit. And I think that very often happens. And in fact, yesterday we killed the bill because there were no consumers there to testify that this was going to protect consumers. It was about kind of protecting the profession. So I think things are working pretty well as they are now. And so I think I've explained why I'm going to be a no vote on this. And Representative Janal, I appreciate your bringing it. And again, I think there were some good aspects to it, but I just can't support it. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Giroux.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, those of you that were paying attention yesterday, and I'm not casting judgment because we get busy down here, you'll remember that I went after Representative Jalal pretty hard yesterday, and it actually reminded me of a time when Representative Pabon and I were sitting in Appropriations, and I was going after, I think, Representative Wyden on one of her bills, and he looked at me and he said, "You're like a cat. I'll bet you play with your food before you eat it." But that being said, and they feel the same way about me, you guys, just so you know. They feel exactly the same way. You know, we went through the bill. I listened to the presentation. I listened to what Representative McCann had to say and what Representative Janal had to say, and I'm voting for the bill. I understand the position of Representative Swalm, but I believe the whole point, one of the core functions of government is health, safety, welfare, to protect citizens' health, safety, welfare. And that's what DORA's job is. And if you look at this particular group of professionals, there's a three-legged stool that you have to satisfy in order to be registered or licensed. And it's education, experience, and examination. And this group qualifies in every one of those functions. So I'll be a yes vote. Can you believe it, Representative Janal?
Representative Janal.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry. I just want to say that the dentists and the dental hygienists have worked very hard and very well with each other to come to this sunset bill. And you know, it's just been a pleasure working with them. I think we have satisfied all the requirements. And just to let you know that we are the only state that does not have continuing education. And I want to make it clear that it was the dentists and the dental hygienists that want the continuing education. And I believe that that means and says a lot. And so I urge for a yes vote on this bill. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question for the House is the passage of House Bill 1227 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Coram, Fisher, Waller. Close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 10 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, House Bill 1227 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of the House Bill 1308.
House Bill 1308, Representative Giroux, Senator Stemmick, concerning procedures for Department of Varying Appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill 1308 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question before the House is the passage of House Bill 1308 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Landgraf and McNulty. Close the machine. With 62 aye votes, 3 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, House Bill 1308 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to Senate Bill 104.
Senate Bill 104 by Senator Lambert, also Representative Durant, concerning the disposition of disputed payments of tobacco litigation settlement monies received by the state.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 104 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House, the passage of Senate Bill 104 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Representatives, close the machine. With 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, Senate Bill 104 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to Senate Bill 106.
Senate Bill 106 by Senator Lambert, also Representative Giroux, concerning the appropriation of federal mineral lease monies from the local government permanent fund to the Department of Local Affairs in connection with making appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 106 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House, the passage of Senate Bill 106 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Representative McNulty. Close the machine. With 52 aye votes, 13 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, Senate Bill 106 is passed. Co-sponsors. Jerry, did you press too many yeses? You needed to at least get one no.
The universe can't get that far out of line.
Yeah. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to Senate Bill 109.
Senate Bill 109 by Senator Stebbins, also Representative May, concerning the use of Prevention, Early Detection, and Treatment Fund in connection with eliminating the annual transfer of $2 million from the Fund of the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing for Medicaid disease management and treatment programs to address cancer, heart disease, and lung disease, or risk factors associated with those diseases, increasing the amount annually appropriated from the Fund of the Prevention Services Division of the Department of Public Health and Environment, the Cancer, Cardiovascular Disease, and Chronic Pulmonary Disease Prevention, Early Detection, and Treatment Program by $2 million.
Do you want to try that again, Mr. Kohler, see if you can get it all in one breath? Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 109 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the passage of Senate Bill 109 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote.
Okay, all right.
Representative Pabon. Close the machine. With 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, Senate Bill 109 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title in one breath of Senate Bill 110. It's a little shorter. You should be able to do it.
Senate Bill 110 by Senator Stebbins, also Representative Giroux, concerning the General Assembly's development of recommendations regarding new methods of financing the state's ongoing capital construction needs.
Well done, finally. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 110 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Giroux.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I wanted to come down when 110 was being explained yesterday. Representative Sonnenberg had a question for me at the end, and I wanted to make sure that you all were understanding what this bill does, because Representative Sonnenberg does a very good job of understanding the bills, and if he had a question, I was really concerned that others might too. You all are probably aware that Senate Bill 228, which is the reason that we're running Senate Bill 110 this year, in 2009 provided for when we hit the 5% personal income growth, which was, we thought before the recession we were going to hit in probably 10 or 11. But when we hit that cap, it triggers 5 years of spending, $250 million a year on capital construction, that would be $50 million of that, and then transportation, horizontal construction. So it's a vertical, horizontal construction bill. And so it would trigger that funding for the next 5 years. On the second to the last year of that funding, 228 said that there would be a study created and would be presented to the Capital Development Committee that would basically explain how we were going to fund transportation and capital construction funding from now on, because we went through a period of time where we really weren't funding it. And you know, before FASTER, there hadn't been any funding in a long time. So there was a reason why this study was to be requested. The Joint Budget Committee was looking at 228 because I think I'm the one that started it. I actually thought we might hit our 5% personal income growth earlier than we did. And it was primarily Senator Stedman and myself were concerned that if the study, and we feel strongly that the study needs to be done, but if the study were prepared, because of the timing now, and we think 228 is going to hit this year, so it'll be in 15-16 that we'll start the funding for this, so it'll be 15-16 through 15-21. Now, you all know, and I've heard the rejoicing, you all know I'm not going to be here then. Senator Stedman won't be here then. Senator Lambert won't be here then. Senator Hodge won't be there then. But we all felt very strongly that the Joint Budget Committee not give up. Oh, and there's Senator Stedman is here now. Anyway, we all felt very strongly that the Joint Budget Committee not ignore this study. It was just too important. So we asked that the study be presented to the Joint Budget Committee. That is not to undermine the Capital Development Committee at all, because the work they do is very, very important and it's very good. What we wanted to make sure is that the Joint Budget Committee understood how important this was and that those dollars were actually there for the CDC to appropriate, as they do every year on their list of funding projects. So that was the reason of the bill. Joint Budget Committee does not want to take on the duties of the CDC. We totally respect what they're doing. In fact, the work that they did this year was incredible. But we just want to make sure that the Joint Budget Committee, at the time that we're at the end of 228, listens to this study and actually plans accordingly. So I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question for the House is the passage of Senate Bill 110 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members decide to vote in favor of the JBC or the CDC. Representative Schaefer. Close the machine. With 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, Senate Bill 110 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to Senate Bill 132.
Senate Bill 132 by Senator Crowder, also Representatives Gardner and Exum, concerning the repeal of the requirement that a soldier be killed while deployed to a combat zone to issue a fallen soldier license plate.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 132 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the passage of Senate Bill 132 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Close the machine. With 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, the first time I've seen a license plate bill pass unanimously, Senate Bill 132 is passed. I know. Co-sponsors. Oh my God, am I going to do this? Close the machine. It's all because of your hard work, Representative Gardner. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills.
Seeing no objection, the House will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to House Bill 1152.
House Bill 1152, Representative Lawrence, also Senator Sheffield, concerning passive surveillance records of governmental entities.
Representative Lawrence, for the dreaded motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and although this pains me greatly to say this, I move that we concur with Senate Resolution and pass House Bill 1152. Senate Resolution and pass House Bill 1152.
Please explain what the useless body did to your great bill.
Well, my fantastic bill was really awesome, but I forgot to put an amendment on it when it was here, so that it gave the other body an opportunity to put that amendment on it rather than having me do it, so that was my mistake. And I beg forgiveness of this body for making that mistake.
So you did all the work for them and they just voted?
Pretty much.
Okay. The question before the House, no further discussion. The question before the House is to concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1152. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Tyler, close the machine with 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, 0 absent. The House concurs in Senate amendments to House Bill 1152. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1152 as amended.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the repassage of House Bill 1152 as amended. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Becker and Becker, close the machine. With 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, the House concurs in Senate amendments to House Bill 1152. Co-sponsors. Repasses House Bill. Sorry. The House repassed House Bill 1152 as amended. Now we'll do co-sponsors. Thank you, Mr. Kohler. Where's the goat? Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to House Bill 1107.
House Bill 1107, Representative Tyler, House Senator Newell, concerning the authority of the Department of Revenue to offer taxpayers the option to receive electronic notices.
Representative Tyler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bloodied, beaten, and bowed, I move that we concur with amendments from the Senate that other placed to House Bill 1107.
Please explain what the Senate did.
Actually, they did something pretty decent. This is a matter of electronic notices for taxes. I'm sorry. They did something good, and they included fees in addition to taxes. So this makes things work a little bit better. I ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before the House is to concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1107. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Close the machine with 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent. The House concurs in Senate amendments to House Bill 1107. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1107 as amended.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House is the repassage of House Bill 1107 as amended. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Buck and Del Grosso. Close the machine with 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent. The House repasses House Bill 1107 as amended. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Kohler, please read the title to House Bill 1184.
House Bill 1184, Representative Vigil, also Senator Grantham, concerning conservancy districts that are organized for the purpose of preventing floods.
Representative Vigil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know. I move that we, the House concur with the Senate amendments to House Bill 1184. One of those times that they did some cleanup work for us. So. Want some more details? It's a technical cleanup. There were some drafting errors that happened during the amendment phase, and so this just clarified what the amendment that we proposed and passed does. So it's just a cleanup for the clarification of the amendment.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before the House is to concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1184. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Close the machine. With 64 aye votes, 1 no vote, 0 excused, and 0 absent, the House concurs in Senate amendments to House Bill 1184. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1184 as amended.
Seeing no discussion, the question for the House of the repassage of House Bill 1184 is amended. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Representative Becker. Close the machine. With 65 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 excused, and 0 absent, the House repasses House Bill 1184 as amended. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over House Bill 1108 to the end of the calendar.
Seeing no objection, the House Bill 1108 will be laid over until the end of the calendar. Announcements and introductions. Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Local Government Committee, great work last week. We'll probably have some work to look forward to next week, but not today. So take the day off.
Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House Agriculture, Livestock, and Natural Resources Committee, we will meet, let's say, in 10 minutes down in Committee Room 107 to hear House Bill 1300 by Garcia and Duran. Thank you.
Representative Riden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee, seeing no business before us this afternoon, we will not meet, so keep busy doing other things. Thank you.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Joint Budget Committee will resume at 10:15. Also, I want to invite everybody to the Metropolitan State University of Denver caucus meeting today. Lunch will be provided, and it's in room 0111.
Representative McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have checked with the Majority Leader and the Minority Leader and asked to be excused on Friday.
See, Representative McCann will be excused as requested. Representative Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, they are not yet in the gallery, but over the next hour or so, we'll have 4 groups from Lone Tree Elementary. Would you please offer a welcome to the students from Lone Tree Elementary? Thank you.
Representative Stevens.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. With the approval of the Majority Leader and Assistant Minority Leader, I will be excused on Friday.
Representative Stevens will be excused as requested. Thank you. Representative Gardner and Madam Speaker Pro Tem.
Good morning, colleagues. Just a friendly reminder that tomorrow we will be having our Victims Caucus.
Everyone listen up. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, the Victims' Rights Caucus will be meeting once again in room 0109. We're going to be discussing restorative justice. The people who do attend say that they get a lot out of these sessions. There will be coffee and pastries. We hope to see you all there tomorrow morning, 7:30 for Victims' Rights Caucus. Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem.
Representative Lebsack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I spoke with the Majority Leader and Minority Leader, and I'm asking for permission to be excused tomorrow after third reading. I'll be here for third reading, and then I'll be asking for excuse for a couple hours after that, so I'm going to miss second reading.
Representative Lebsack, what time roughly? Because we could do seconds first and thirds after.
Well,
I mean,
I'm
that would be fun. And Representative Lebsack.
I was assuming the Speaker was going to go and the Majority Leader was going to go with thirds first.
You never know. Sometimes we like to switch things up. Do you want to say a time? Just it's easier to do a time.
Roughly 9:30 to 12:45.
That sounds great. Representative Lebsack will be excused as requested. Thank you, Representative Lebsack. Representative Court.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to follow up. Yesterday, we said that Chaffaa Colorado Housing Finance Authority would be here today. They had food out there, and some of them are here, so please go greet them in the lobby. Thank you.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Apologies for not mentioning this before I got here, when I got here this earlier. I know they're not in the gallery yet, but please welcome Erie High School from Erie and Timberline PK through 8 from Longmont.
Any further announcements or introductions? Seeing none, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess till 1 p.m. this afternoon, at which point we will adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Members, just one thing I forgot to mention. Hopefully you've all been told this, but next week is budget week. We'll be caucusing on Wednesday. We'll be caucusing Thursday morning. Friday we will be doing seconds. So if you have any plans, Thursday. Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. Thursday we are doing seconds. So if you have any plans at night, you might want to cancel them because we'll probably be here late. Well, it depends on how long this side of the aisle wants to go. But we will be here probably late next Thursday for the budget. So with that, the House will stand in recess until 1 p.m. We'll see you back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.